got to focus on one of the games now. Italy are not going to be in USA this summer. It's the third straight World Cup they've missed out on. Unbelievable stuff. Italian journalist Daniele Fisichella is watching for talkSPORT, and he joins us now. Hi, Daniele.
Daniele, come stai?
Hi, good evening. Hi, Jamie. Hi, Jason.
Come stai?
What's happened? What happened?
What happened? Where do we start? We're out, and I think we are into the oblivion. We are no longer relevant. Italian football, I'm afraid, it does no longer exist because for 16 years we've not been at the World Cup, and by the time the next World Cup comes, 2030, there will be 20 years old in Italy and around the world that have never seen Italy at the World Cup. So we are basically a footnote into the world of football. And I'm afraid after tonight, Italian football lives on YouTube videos, lives on nostalgia account on social media, lives on shirt collectors, but does no longer live in the memory and in the world that we are living because, for the majority of people, we simply don't exist anymore.
Daniele, but what has happened to this national team? Because, we talk about nostalgia, right? Italy. We're talking about Italy, World Cup winners. We talk about the greats of, football. Their Italian players are in the top 10, right? And you look at it and you go, how is a nation not at a World Cup? Like, how can that be? I look at the players that you've got, even in this squad, and you go, okay, how is that? Well, what's happened? What has happened over there?
I think the decline has started a long time ago. I started at least in 2006 when Italy won the World Cup. That was the beginning of the end. The rest of the European and world football had modernized. Italian FA, it's old. Italy as a country is even older. And I don't think they kept pace with the changes of the game. And increasingly, they have started playing more and more foreign players, not giving opportunities to young players. And the results are very stark, even in the European competitions. Now, when Italian teams do well, is more an exception. Before, it used to be the rule in the 90s, in the 80s, and you all know that, of course. And now when it comes to this particular World Cup qualifier, the damage was done when they lost match day one against Norway a year and a half ago in June. Probably they underestimated. And it's a team that unfortunately has got no longer superstars. They no longer have goal scorers or creative players. But because this is the product of Serie A, where the vast majority of teams play with 3 at the back, 5 midfielders, 2 strikers, and therefore is a system that is mainly defensive, where there are no number 10s, and where the wing-backs are either defenders who can defend, like Di Marco tonight, Federico Di Marco, or they are wingers who cannot score enough goals, therefore they become wing-backs. And I think why they decide to adopt the system, because it's a system that can give you better results quicker, but it's very conservative as well. And I think, it is a product of that. But going back to tonight, Italy were punished by episodes after all. The red card of Bastoni, yes, of course, it was a red card. Then with 10 men, they back down and back down. They had the best chances of the game, actually, with 10 men. They should have scored the second goal with Moise Kean, perhaps with Di Marco itself. And then they conceded the equalize. And a Bosnian player, Muaremovic, should have been sent off in extra time. However, if you get to penalties with the number 65 in the world to play for a World Cup, the first World Cup in 16 years, that means there's something very wrong along the line has happened.
Daniele, what would you do if you were in charge of the Italian FA? What steps? Because there's been enough warnings. This is not, as Jay said, this is the 3rd World Cup in a row now. And, it's not inconceivable to see there could be a 4th. What's got to be done between now and the next qualification for the World Cup to ensure that Italy are there?
Well, if I was in charge of the FA, if I was Gabriele Gravina, the FA chairman, I would step down straight away tonight, because Gabriele Gravina, the FA chairman, was in charge also 4 years ago when Italy were knocked out by North Macedonia in the playoff, and he still kept his place. So that would be the first things I would do for respect to all the Italians. Secondly, very deep reforms. I mean, the BIN talks about reducing the number of foreign players that are allowed to play in Italy, perhaps going back to the 3+1 rule, but that's impossible. The world has changed.
Yeah.
Try to stimulate Italian clubs or incentivize Italian clubs to play Italian players that come through the ranks could be a better solution. So not limit the foreign players, but give incentives to the Italians to actually play in the second division and in the top division. The BIN even talks of reducing the number of teams that play in Serie A, going down from 20 to 18 to perhaps maximize the quality of the players that play there. But overall, I think there has to be a change in the way the football is taught and developed across the country. Football, it's far too expensive these days for families in Italy, for young players, if they want to start. I mean, the charges are quite high as well. And often we hear that in football schools, in football academies, tactics is taught more than technique, how to dribble, how to cross, how to take a shot. And I think we need to go back to the basics. But this will bear fruits maybe in 10, 15, 20 years' time. For now, yes, I think the soul searching has started. Gennaro Gattuso might even continue as Italy national manager. He's only been in charge 8 or 9 games. Do
you think he should?
Yes.
Do you think he should stay?
Well, I cannot really point the finger at him, to be fair, because he only lost 1 game within 90 minutes, and that was against Norway. And the human material that is at his disposal, it's pretty average. Italy didn't play well tonight, but they didn't play well against Northern Ireland on Thursday. But at least today they showed a bit of grit, a bit of determination, a bit of dog defending after all, which is all part of the Gattuso DNA. I don't think he's a particularly tactically astute coach, but unless we go to any top coach in the world that probably they don't want to coach Italy, even a foreign manager at the moment, I don't think there is much really available. So yeah, I'll probably stick with him at least for the Euros. And the silver lining is that to qualify for the Euros is much easier than to qualify for the World Cup.
Well, just on that qualifying campaign, I don't know. I look at like the way the South Americans qualify. You say they've lost 1 game, right? Italy lost 1 game.
Two. Well, with Norway, home and away. Yeah.
So, and you look at it and you go, they're not in the World Cup because they've lost against Norway. And it's like, look at the South American teams. Some of them have been garbage and they're there because of the way the qualifying setup is. I don't know if it's a bit of an issue over here. We talk England, right? We cruise through. I get it. We're the best team. We always play against bang average sides. But I don't know if it's... We're talking about the biggest ever World Cup, right? The amount of teams that are going to be there this year. It's the biggest ever World Cup ever. And Italy are not there. It just doesn't...
It is disproportionate, I agree with you, because there are only 13 European teams qualifying to a 48 teams World Cup. And of course, the number of Asian and South American and African teams has increased. So it is a World Cup that represents more the world rather than the footballing world, which is basically Europe in a way.
Yeah.
However, Italy knew the rules. They all knew that they had to finish top of the group, otherwise you have to go through the playoffs. True, yeah. And even in the playoff, they played Northern Ireland 69th in the world and Bosnia 65th in the world. So there are still the issues that these games were winnable. And tonight games started well with Italy taking the lead after 25 minutes, and then they lost the way. They lost the identity that probably they don't even have, to be fair. So yes, of course, we can talk about the qualifying rules as much as we want, but it's fair for everyone. So I don't think it's there to change. If you can't make it, that means you deserve to be out.
Yeah, it's shocking, really. But look, at least you got a nice summer planned, mate.
No, he hasn't.
There you go. Put your feet up, go Sardinia.
I know. Well, still watch the game. Unfortunately, it's one of those summers where you turn the TV on.
Yeah.
Who plays? Who cares? I mean,
cheer England on.
Oh yeah, it's fine. I'll watch England. That's definitely.
Italy are going to be in mourning over this, right? I mean, the Italian fans, some of the most passionate fans in the world.
It's terrible. It's terrible. But I mean, it's terrible for me, for my generation, but it's terrible for the youngest generation. We've never seen Italy at the World Cup. At least when I was 12, I would have seen Italia 90, USA 94.
Yeah.
which, you know, still good memories. But yeah, if I think about the youngers now, this summer for them, yeah, it's gonna be a very sad one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Unbelievable stuff. Let's organise a couple of friendlies again, Northern Ireland or something.
Oh, come on.
Have a couple of games against them.
Maybe. I'll think about it.
Daniele, top man, mate. Thank you.
Ciao.